Hey guys, today we're going to start taking a look at how to write equations if we're given the graph. So real quick, I want to remind you of the three forms of a linear equation. So first we have our slope-intercept form, and that looks like this: y equals mx plus b. So we use that if we have the y-intercept in the slope. The next point that we studied was the point slope form of a line, and that looks like this: y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and we use that if we have the slope and the point, a point that's on the line. And last but not least, we most recently studied standard form. And the keystone, or the most important thing about standard form, is we have ax plus by equals c. And when I think about this, I think about x and y intercepts, but I also think, oh, okay, the x and the y are on the left side, and the constant or the plain old numbers on the right. So just to set you up for success on this, most of the time, I start looking at graphs using the slope-intercept form. So that is my go-to when I start writing equations. So let's look at a few examples. So let's take a look at number 1. And this is very similar to the practice you're going to have. It says write linear equations to represent each graph. Then determine if the point is on the graph. So we'll get to that part in just a minute. But when I look at this graph, I can clearly identify the y-intercept, and we can easily find the slope of any line using rise over run. So I've got y equals, and I'm going to go ahead and do my rise over run. And it looks to me like every couple of points are really good corner points or exact points. So my rise is 2, 4, and my run is 1. So, and I go down. So negative 4 over 1 simplifies to negative 4. So y equals negative 4x, and earlier we identified our y-intercept at plus 18. So that's a good starting point. Now we can take that and solve it, or get it, rewrite it, I think is the best word, so that it's in standard form. And I'm going to come down here and do that. So I have y equals negative 4x plus 18. So my goal is to get the x and y on the left side. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides. So I have 4x plus y equals 18. And I can clearly see this is in standard form. I don't need to multiply by anything, so I can leave it just like that. So 4x plus y equals 18. Now let's get to this part right here. It says, is 6 negative 6 on the graph? Well, excuse me, in order to determine that, I have to write the equation first, which thankfully I've already done. So you can pick any form of this equation that you want to test the point. Just remember, the first number is your x, the second number is your y. So if I plug this in and it makes the equation true, then it is on the graph. It's a solution to the graph. So I'm going to stick with my slope-intercept form for this. So y equals negative 4x plus 18. Well, in my point, y is negative 6 equals negative 4 times my x is 6 plus 18. So negative 6 equals negative 4 times 24 is negative 24. And what is negative 24 plus 18? Well, it's negative 6. So when you end up with the same thing on both sides, yes, that means that is a solution. Then here's the last thing you're going to do on your practice. If yes, you use it to write an equation in point slope form. So now I'm going to say y minus the negative 6 becomes y plus 6 equals, what's our slope? Well, we found it to be negative 4 times x minus and it is 6. It's a positive 6. So we're going to try a couple more of these. Let's look at example 2. Example 2 is another really good one to use slope-intercept form. So I always go for that one first. I can clearly see my y-intercept here, and we can always find our slope using rise over run. So corner point, corner point, corner point. So it looks like I go down 1, run 3, down 1, run 3. So that means my slope is negative 1/3 x, and my y-intercept is positive 2. So now, next we're going to write that in standard form. So here's what we do. We've got y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. I'm going to add 1/3 x to both sides. So that gives me 1/3 x plus y equals 2. Is this in standard form? No, it's not, because it has a fraction. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. Sorry about that. So this is going to become 1x, or just x. That's 3 times 1/3. 3 times 1y becomes 3y equals, and 2 times 3 is 6. So now I have my equation in standard form. Is 9, negative 1 a solution to this function? Remember, if it's a solution, it will make any of these equations true, or either, sorry. I always go back to my y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. You can use the standard form, you'll get the same answer, the same response. So y is negative 1 in our test point equals negative 1/3 times 9 plus 2. So let's do this. Negative 1 equals, well, what is 1/3 of 9? It's 3, because 9 divided by 3 is 3, and it's negative. So negative 3 plus 2, negative 1 equals negative 1. So yes, that's a point, or that's a solution to this function. And since it was yes, we want to use that point to write our point slope form. So y minus a negative 1 becomes y plus 1 equals, we said our slope was negative 1/3 times x minus 9. So there's that equation. Now take a look at number 3. What do you notice about this graph? I cannot clearly identify my slope or my y-intercept. Please, please, please make a note of this. If you can't, let's write it. If you can't identify the y-intercept, then you have to start with the point slope form. Slope we know is rise over run, and I also want you to make a note. I pick the point, you pick the point, however you want to write that. I like that. I choose the point. It does not matter which point as long as it's exact. So first, let's find our slope. So let's find 2 exact points. It looks like every one of them are exact. So I rise 3 and I run 1. So my slope, 3 over 1 is 3. And let's pick any point. I'm going to use the first one I see here, 3, 6. So 3, 6. So my, excuse me. So my point slope form is going to be y minus 6 equals 3 times x minus 3. Now I can take that equation and I can get it into slope-intercept form. So y minus 6 equals 3 times x minus 3. Let's go ahead and do the distributive property. So you need to be comfortable going between each of these forms. So 3x minus 9. Now I want to add 6 to both sides to get y equals 3x minus 3. So that's my slope-intercept form because it tells me the slope and the y-intercept. And now I'm going to take that equation and go to standard form. So to do that, I subtract 3x from both sides. So I get negative 3x plus y equals negative 3. Is that in standard form? No, we can't have a negative leading coefficient. So we're going to multiply both sides or everything by negative 1. All that does is changes all the signs. So 3x minus y equals 3. Now it's in standard form. 3x minus y equals 3. And last but not least, let's test our point. Does 721 make this equation true? X is 7, y is 21. Remember, pick any form, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same response. I like to go to slope-intercept form. Y equals 3x minus 3. X is 21 equals 3 times, y is 21 equals 3 times x is 7 minus 3. So 21 equals, well, 3 times 7 is 21. 21 equals, what's 21 take away 3? So it's going to be 18. Does 21 equal 18? No, it doesn't. So, does it make the equation true? No. And since it was no, I don't have to write another point slope formula. So make sure you use your notes to help you with your practice and to help you with your quiz. Talk to you guys later. Bye.